Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another Thirsty Thursday live stream. So, in tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about bug bounties, web hacking, and all that fun stuff. So, if you guys are new to the channel, please like, subscribe, and all that jazzy jazz. I want to go ahead and bring our guest in. His name is Ben. We'll have him introduce himself and all that stuff, all that good stuff, all that good.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. How's it going?
It's going good. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to kind of talk about bug bounties, web hacking, pen testing, anything up to security, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about tonight, and I want to show my gratitude. Thank you for spending an hour tonight on your busy schedule, and that's appreciated for sure. So for those folks, maybe that on my channel they may have never heard of you or who you are. So what you been up to, and who's Big Benny?
Yeah, well, I'm Ben. Most people online know me as NahamSec. I am a bug bounty hunter. I think most of my quote-unquote click to fame comes from bug bounties. I've been doing them for officially 10 years now. It's been a decade, right, since I've been doing this. Time flies. As I said that, I'm like, holy shit, it's been like 10 years. But yeah, I've been doing bug bounties for 10 years. I started making content in 2018, and then when COVID happened is when I full send it with more content, and I think it became a good escape for me from being stuck at home, and also a good escape for a lot of people that were stuck at home with us.
Yep.
And yeah, now I work as the CEO of a company called Hacking Hub. We are a training platform, and we're training the next generation of hackers.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I definitely checked out some of that, and kudos and congratulations on that new stepping stone, that new journey. And so for those folks that don't really know what bug bounty hunting is, and like maybe they can confuse this with like penetration testing, and just for an example, Hack the Box has their CPTS, and then they partnered up with HackerOne for their CBBH. What is the difference between like a pen tester and a bug bounty? Like for those folks that may have that stuff mixed up or may not know at all.
Yeah, I think in an essence, it's very similar. The skills are the same. You're essentially a web hacker, or you're just a hacker, honestly, because bug bounties are no longer about web. It could be mobile apps, it could be IoT, it could be connected cars, it could be doing a network, or anything, right? It could be anything like that with bug bounties now. But the difference between a bug bounty hunter and a pen tester is that bug bounty hunting doesn't get paid based on hourly rates, and also you're not getting paid on theory. So in theory, if I find something that could be vulnerable in the pen test, I'm gonna put that in my pen test report and let the client decide whether or not they want to get it fixed. But with bug bounties, it's a paid by impact. So the higher the impact, the higher the bounty is. And it's not every program offers a bounty. You have your vulnerability disclosure programs on this side, which is see something, say something. So let's say you hack on, you're doing something at work for IBM and you find a cross-site scripting on accident, right? You can report to IBM, they will not pay you, but you still get to fix it and get some kudos for it. And then you have your bug bounty where you get paid. I think some of the programs now, it's ridiculous. Back when I first started, it was $100 to like 15,000 was the max. Right now it's $100 to maybe I've seen bounties of $150,000 this year.
Sure. So if you don't mind disclosing, like what has been like the biggest bounty that you've collected?
The highest single bounty to a report that I've attached, like I have gone a single bounty amount, is 60,000 for me. And that was in collaboration with a friend of mine, Zishano. So we split it, I think it was with him or somebody else. We split it together. It was a $6,000 bounty, and that was the biggest one. And then recently I've seen bounties of 40,000, 30,000. And I think that's just the beginning of it, honestly. I'm excited to see what goes in the next 10 years.
Yeah. That's super. Because there's like an Argentinian kid, right? That he's like a millionaire. I don't know his name.
Yeah, Santi was the first
Santi
of the. I think there's about like 20 of them on HackerOne, maybe more now. I don't know how long it's been, but yeah, he's one of the first that's made $1 million, and it's a lucrative career now. And you're essentially a freelancer of your own. And I have a lot of friends of mine that are traveling through different cities, and just they're nomads, and they pay their wages through bug bounties.
Yeah, that was my next question. Can someone make an actual career from just finding bugs and doing that versus like, okay, I'm a consultant at a big firm or a little firm, and I'm pen testing every week, making my my salary? Can someone just be like, hey, I just want to do this for the rest of my life or for X amount of years, like you said, and just travel, just like what's his face? He was just going around the Stoke, right? He was just
Yeah.
going around the world and just in his minivan or whatever his thing, and living the dream, right? And
Yeah, I think it's doable to do it full time. Most of my income right now is through bug bounties. I'm trying to build my own company.
yep.
So a lot of my income comes from bug bounties, and I think it's doable. I know I'm not the only person that's doing this. I know a lot of friends that are doing it, but honestly, it just depends on your one. It depends on your lifestyle, and then two, it depends on what your goals are, right? Like you could do, and I was working full time for a while and doing bug bounties on the side, and then doing like apprentice on the side, like like moonlighting. Is that the term
Yep.
for it?
Yeah.
I was moonlighting with bug bounties, and I was doubling my salary at the end of the year. So I'm making two incomes by having a full-time job that let me do, my 6 to 8, 9 hours a day. And then at the end of the night, we start playing video games. I'll do hacking some days, and some days I'll take a break and play video games. So it is doable, but it all comes down to your skills, your lifestyle, what you want to do.
Yeah, especially like if you're single, no kids, maybe in your 20s, early 30s, that's why I always tell people like, just shine away, dude. Like once you start getting a little older and you have a family, that's going to be a little more difficult. Some people, maybe not everyone's going to get yelled at, but I sure do. But yeah, like if I spend too much time on my computer, it's, because when you have have a little one and everything like that. But yeah, that's super cool. So I want to, obviously, if folks in the live chat, if you guys have any questions, just throw it in the chat and we'll get to it. Normally we, at the, last 15, 20 minutes of the stream, we'll go through the questions and shoot the stuff, because we'll, if I start answering the questions there and then we get sidetracked. So how did you first get into bug bounty hunting, and what drew you to that field versus like doing GRC maybe or something else? What drew you to like, the bug bounty world?
Yeah, so I was actually in college. I was on my I was a super senior in college or university. I did like my last year took me 2 years to finish. But during one of those last years, I met up with a group of people at this like cybersecurity event that my school did. It was like the federal government coming in and hiring pretty much and looking for talent. You had the Federal Reserve, you had the Feds, you had the three-letter agencies. Everybody was just, chit-chatting. And I met with someone, and this guy was pretty much like, "Oh, you think you're a big shot hacker? Why don't you go do bug bounties?" And I was like, "What the hell is a bug bounty?"
Yeah.
It's like, go look it up. Go look up Yahoo bug bounty. And that was right when Yahoo had just switched over from giving gift cards to actually paying bounties. And I loved Yahoo as a kid. When I was younger, I grew up using Yahoo, dude. Yahoo groups, Yahoo chat, Yahoo Sports. So I got into it, and that was about, I want to say, like November of 2013, maybe 2014. I don't remember what year it was. It was towards the end of the year. And then 6 months into it, about March or April of that next year, like, a couple months later, I actually found a bunch of SQL injections on Yahoo. And I think it was 3 of them. And back then they were only paying $3,000 for them. Now they pay like 10, 15K for them. But I got $3,000 bounties. And I'm living in I'm at this point, let me paint you a picture though. I'm living in a 1-bedroom apartment that's like kind of a studio downtown in my city. My rent is about like $600 a month. That's how cheap it was back then.
Yeah.
But I'm painting out how much my bills used to be.
Yeah.
And I was getting by with like, being a broke college kid, $800-900 a month. We had 2 roommates in that 1 bedroom, and we're splitting it together. I'm sitting on $9K cash.
Yeah, it's like you hit
the
lotto.
Of money.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money, right? And I always wanted to buy a nicer car. I don't mean like a expensive car, but I had like a really beat up car. I had like a really old Honda Accord, like the front, the paint, you can see it peeling from the sun and things like that. So I went to a family friend of mine. I was like, "Hey, I want this like BMW." It was like a 3 Series 2-door, drop, the roof dropped and things like that. Yeah. And I bought the car, and the guy was like, it's a close family friends of mine. I was like, "How do you have all this cash? Like, where did you get it from? Are you selling drugs?" I'm like, No. I'm actually like legit making money from hacking. And I bought the car, went home, and I just sat in my living room just going, "Oh my God, I just bought a car. Like, what else can I do with this money, dude? Like, what else can I do with this hacking? Like, how far can I take this?" Right. And here we are 10 years later, I've built an entire career on it. So to answer the original question, that's kind of
Yeah.
how I got into it. And it's just when that money hits your bank account and you go, oh my God, I just did this without I had no resume. I had no
Yep.
experience. I'm still a broke college kid and I hated school so
Yeah.
much because I was in it for so long. And I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, this is it. Like this has got to be it. This is the thing I want to do from now on.
Yeah. And that's, I love that story. You know what I mean? Like that's super, super dope because everyone thinks, well, not everyone, there's a lot of people that, especially if you know, maybe your family's from, overseas. Like I have family from
Mhm.
overseas, like that immigrant family is always like, oh, you need to go to college. If you don't go to college, you're
Yeah.
going to be a deadbeat. You know what I mean? You're going to be a low life or whatever. It's like college, the traditional way. And it's like when you show that, you know, me personally, like, yes, I did go to college. I have a degree, but I have friends, out there. We were just talking about one of them before the show that are doing really, really well that didn't even
Yeah.
graduate high school. You know what I mean? Or, drop out and they're like doing really well for themselves. So I guess the question that I want to ask someone that, you went to school, yeah, it took probably, you did the 5 year plan versus the 4 year plan. Do you feel as though like maybe someone's asking you at 19, 20 years old or whatever, hey, should I go to college? I want to be whatever, a pen tester, bug bounty, etc. Like, what would be something that you would convey to someone at such a young age, trying to guide them? And yeah, what would be your advice for that?
Yeah, I honestly think like it depends because I think some people need to go to school to learn things, and
Mm-hmm.
some people don't want to they don't need to go to school and learn stuff, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think the people that are, and there's nothing wrong with either one of them,
Yeah.
but the best hackers that I know are the ones that have learned things on their own
Mm-hmm.
because it is out of curiosity, right? Like I am curious to know why this thing works. Why does this thing happen, or how does this thing break? Whatever. I was so curious. I want to do these things.
Exactly.
And I can't say one is better than the other, but if you would have asked me this 10 years ago, I would have probably been like, yeah, I should probably go to school and learn all these things at a 4-year university. But nowadays there are so many cool resources out there, man, to learn web hacking, pen testing, and things like that, that it's incredible. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't take away, like not going to school gives you the disadvantage for your resume. Like you can't put that you studied for 4 years at a college for your HR purposes, right? But you can go on the other side and get like an OSCP or whatever 4-letter cert and put it on there as another. It's just do both of those. I personally learned that on the very last year of my college degree, I was skipping things like calculus and those math classes the last 2-3 years or the last 2 years, and I was learning them on my own. I was going pretty much to YouTube to learn how to do calc stuff because I just couldn't learn in class. I could the style of teaching didn't work for me.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's it depends on the person, to be honest. But I think there's so many stuff that you can do online nowadays that you don't need to go to school. It just comes down to like your social life also of like, is that an expectation of you to go to school?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that, and you bring up a good point. I think that's the only benefit that you would get from like on-site uni. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, oh, like I get to meet, Ben because, the internet, you never know who you can meet on the internet. But when you go to class, you go to your cohort, you have your folks that you can fucking chop it up with that
yeah,
maybe you don't know because everyone uses some fucking weird alias on the internet. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's like, I don't know who's behind a computer, but at least now I know this guy's in front of me. I can, shoot the shit with him and get to know him and blah, blah, blah. So I think there's obviously there's definitely benefits, but like if you're just going there to whatever, do the smoochy smooch and get like with the college chicks or just, do your thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Then do you, boo boo. You know what I mean? But if you're just going over there to learn how to hack and all that stuff, I think there's way better avenues and way cheaper too,
Yeah,
Like,
and also like the advice that I give people, it's the same thing I give my little cousin who's just deciding to go to college or not, is if you're going to go to a 4-year school, at least go to a good school that's going to give you access to a network of people that you can use in the
mm-hmm,
future, or it's like the top school for your degree, right? If you go to
exactly.
some random 4-year university for computer science, that's not their specialty, right? Like there's no tech companies in that area. What's the point? You're going to get a
Yeah.
degree. That's the point of it, right? But I think there's a better thing to go to a school that's meant for that special thing that you want to learn than going to some random school.
Yeah, no, totally. I agree 1,000%. And I like that we spoke about this, because I think that's super, super critical, because I get the question all the time, like, should I go to school or should I go get these, 4-letter acronyms, OSCP, OSEP, whatever, all these. So I wanted to ask you about that. So for certifications, bug bounty, and we could talk about pen testing as a whole, like, do you have any certs yourself?
No, I have 0 certs at all. I have no certificate at all, to be honest. I've done the path to OSCP, but I've never done the OSCP. It's one of the things that I want to eventually carve out time to do it, just so I can say I've done it. A lot of people tell me like, oh, your OSCP was gonna come easy to you, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But then I've never done it, but I know how to do local privilege escalation. I know how to do recon. I know how to exploit things, right? And I've done this for a living. I have I think I have PTSD from college with like testing being done, that I've never done it, to be honest. And I don't know if I want to go through that process of 72 hours of hell with OSCP, but I've thought about it. The only thing I have is a 4-year college degree from a random university for computer science. And the only thing they taught us at that school was Java and how to develop games and, enterprise Java stack that I've never used, honestly. There was no, back when I was at school, Kali was out, but they were still using cybersecurity courses with Backtrack back in the day.
Backtrack R3, yep.
But we were Kali was out for many years, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay.
But that school was still outdated with Backtrack, yeah. So it's just I don't have any certs. But again, I think I got to a point in my career where I was just like, what's the point at this point of my career to want to go get these certifications?
Yeah, and that's valid. And I love that because people ask me like why I do them, right? Like, do I need these certifications? No, I don't think I need more things under the umbrella. But I think I do it more to like, and I had same thing, like, I don't want to say PTSD, but like that imposter syndrome. Like when you have to do a pen test, you go, you have your team. If you got stuck and you have a question, blah, blah, blah. When you're stuck in an exam, fuck, son, like you by yourself, bro. Like that's it. It's you and a computer. So it's like, oh shit. Like then you start, same thing in interviews, right? Like when you're, if you have a real formal interview, like I've been on interviews that I fucking complete brain fart. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember what sharp pound is and how to ingest data into blood. Like I'm like, yeah. But like, off the grid, son, like I'll just do it, do it and get it done. So that's why, like, I stopped. Like after I did a few certifications in college, because during my university, we did the CEH, CHFI, ECSA, and LPT, because it was a part of the curriculum at WGU when I was there. So like, but then like people were like, oh, you need to go get this OSCP and then PMPT and, all these other, things, OSWE, people are talking about that. And I always shied away from the website because coding was never my thing. I come from an infrastructure background. So like the attacking a server, Active Directory, that all was normal and made sense to me. Then if you just right click and inspect the element, I'm like, fuck, every element looks the same. What's the difference? You know what I mean? It's like, and I always used to make the joke. Now I'm getting a little better, but like, you can give me a fully patch application, a fully vulnerable. They both look the same to me. You know what I mean? So if you don't come from that world, it's like if you have a fully patched Active Directory and something that's full of misconfigurations, if you don't know how to leverage those misconfigs in attribute editors or whatever you're trying to attack, they might look like, Active Directory from like a sysadmin perspective, right? Yeah. So certs. So I guess you never took certs, but like for someone that wants to get into bug bounty now, like now there is some web application certifications. Yeah, InfoSec has their OWA, I think a web advisor, I think it's called, and then they have the web expert. Then like TCM security now, CBBH from Hack the Box. So do you feel as though like that can help someone, or you just say fuck it, just go to like Port Swigger, do your thing, and then go out there and.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on their credibility, right? Like anybody could. This is not a job at any content creator or any certificates that's out there, but those certificates don't really mean anything if you're doing a hack the box certificate, because the credibility comes from where? Like it's just a cert, right? I don't think certs specifically give you credibility that you know a subject. You're not a subject matter expert, right? You just pass some test. So if you're going to do a certificate for bug bounty hunting alone, I don't recommend it, because you're not trying to get past the HR. You're not trying to put that on your resume. There is no resume. No one gives a shit about your resume in bug bounties. Just the reality of it, right? Like nobody cares what 4-letter exam you passed, because you're not getting a job from me. You're not interviewing with me. You don't have to get past my hiring manager. You just have to know how to exploit things. So I know people that have done OSCP and that have done their CEH, have done the whatever practical whatever, or the 4-letter thing that hack the box does, but then you put a web app in front of them, they can't even find an XSS because they have not applied those skills outside of the labs itself, right? So with bug bounties, no, I would just say go do the route to those tests. Don't waste your money on those tests. Go to the route for those and get some bounties. And if you really want to go get a cert, then go get certified. I did the opposite. I learned all those stuff. I didn't bother with the certificate. And then I started teaching as I was doing bug bounties, because you learn things better when you start teaching them. But for my resume's sake, what I did was I was putting every company that I've hacked on my resume, especially if I was able to write the blog post about that bug on my website, because now you can show that you have applied those skill sets on a real target that's more practical than any other exam, and you can show that you have done it. It's a real life example of it, not some fake CTF that there's a solution to. Then you're showcasing your example, and that write-up that you do on your website showcases your soft skills, it showcases your writing skills, it showcases your technical skills, and it's way better than having passed an exam that you get in a sea of people. You're a needle in a haystack.
Needle in a haystack. Yeah.
Sorry, that's a hard one to say as you're talking, but you're literally becoming a needle in a haystack with everybody that's getting these certs, versus showing a real world example, to be honest. And that was how my resume worked out for me.
Yeah, and that's super dope. And I wanted to ask you, because not until a few years ago, like I started doing CTFs. I was never a big fan of them. You said you play video games on your downtime. One fun fact with me, I never played a video game in my life till today.
Whoa.
Yeah, I never
What
played
game
a video
did you play? Hold on. What game?
No, I never played a game.
Oh, I thought you said like today you tried one. Oh my God, never.
No, I never.
No FIFA, no Call of Duty?
No, I was always like, I grew up more on the streets. Like, so we could talk offline, but like grew up a little different than your typical nerd. So like I never got into that world of like the nerdy things growing up as a kid. I grew up doing different things. So I never actually played video games. So like getting into this world was so different, because all like the colleagues and everything like that, like, yo, I'm going to go play, like you said, Call of Duty or, FIFA. I played soccer, real soccer. I played hockey, real hockey, but I never actually played, video games. So going back to that,
InfoSec Pat tries video games next. We'll bring you on my stream and play like a game of like, I don't know, Call of Duty or something, and we talk InfoSec.
I'll be down. I'll be down. So I wanted to ask about like CTFs, right? Because getting into this world, like I remember watching John Hammond talk about Pico CTF. Like this was years ago before he actually blew up. And I'm like, what the fuck is this Pico CTF and over the wire? And I'm like, I don't know any of this stuff. This is like when Hack the Box, you had to like hack your Java, inspect element and get your little tag to get in there, or your little flag to get in there. So, and even though like there was a hack, you just go to hackthebox.eu/register and you get the flag right away. But, and I did that by accident. I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, oh, let's just put register here. And I got a flag. But, now you got me thinking NHL, because I play hockey and I'm a huge hockey fan. So CTFs, I want to try to stay on topic because I have ADD. So CTFs, do you think that's good for someone to learn CTFs? Because you made a good point. Like, okay, like this is a real target. You're all, good in the hood. You're doing it against a real target. But like a CTF, like it's not real. It's not, and I always felt like that. Like, when are you going to start using base 64, reverse engineer, like do all this stuff on a real engagement? I never really did.
You'd be surprised, dude. You'd be very surprised, because I come from the same background as what you were saying. Like I was very much against CTFs. I think I think there was a big shift in CTFs about a couple of years ago, and I'm not gonna say, I think a lot of us content creators played a huge role, because we started doing CTFs and saying these are not realistic. Who the fuck is making these, right?
Yeah.
And then people like myself, John Hammond, there's a bunch of people that work with John Hammond. I can't think of their names. There's a massive group that actually works with John, but we all came together and started making our own CTFs. Right, me and Adam on our websites, the CTFs that we make are all based on vulnerabilities that we have found on bug bounties, pen tests, and things like that. There was that shift. You no longer were doing ciphers. You no longer were looking at cryptography wasn't in the cryptography that you used to. And I think there is a value in doing those CTFs, because you get to learn some technique. That people are coming up with examples of CTFs from places that make sense now, and not just making it fake.
Yeah.
And I think those CTFs, yes, it makes sense to do. Because I think the thing that I love about CTFs that I've always said is, if you're new to information security or cybersecurity, whatever you want to call it, and you don't know where you want to go, try a CTF. Do you know why? Because that exposes you to so many different skills, whether you like reverse engineering, you like OSINT, you like web hacking, you like mobile hacking, what is it that you like? You can experience that there, and you can meet people and network with people in those Discord groups and those CTF groups that are doing that particular CTF, whether it's so-and-so CTF or Huntress is doing a CTF, it's NahamCon CTF that's happening. They all have Discord that you can meet in. The players keep on repeating. It's the same people over and over until you start catching on the same people and you make friends. I think those skills are very applicable, but it's just you have to make sure you know when to walk away from a CTF, because there's a solution you need to get to. You just got to learn how to walk away from it, and also go look at the solutions of the CTFs and understand how those things work and try them out on your own.
Yeah. So there was something, because you mentioned Discords, right? I'm still, I don't want to say new to that world, but it's not really a world that makes sense to me still till today. Yeah. I don't know if I'm getting older. I don't know, just because I'm more, I've said this many times, I'm more of the person, I'm not like a keyboard gangster. You have something to say it to my face. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like a lot of these little fucking chat rooms and stuff like that, it's all about like trolls, you know what I mean? And you get them online, and I don't like them. I get fucking infuriated. Like I want to punch them and break in their jaw, you know? Like, so how do you ever have to deal with these fucking kids? Like, do you deal with them? Like, how do you deal with them?
I went through it for a phase, man. I've had death threats. I've had the you should die threats, the death wishes. I've had them all. And especially when I was like quote unquote blown up throughout COVID for that year when everyone was home, I was very active on Twitter and Twitch because I had nothing else to do. Everyone was stuck, and I was entertainment for a lot of people. Yeah,
that's when I started my channel.
Yeah, and I got a lot of like those, but I learned to look past it, because I've also met some amazing people through my Discord, for example. Like a couple of people that are mods on my Discord have become lifelong friends of. I've met 2 of them in person. They're not mods anymore, but they grew out of the mod situation, and they're doing bug bounties and pen tests on their own. That we became friends, and we talk now as regular friends, right? I think there are good and bad Discords. It just depends on what Discord you go to. My personal Discord is heavily moderated. We have rules, and everyone's respectable. We have people that are 15, 16, unfortunately, super young in there. Or fortunately, because they want to learn cybersecurity. But some of the younger guys don't get it. Like they still haven't learned how to act online. But we coach a lot of those people, and we kick them out. But then you also have some people that are willing to work with you, and it all depends on what Discord you go to. Personally, I think the Hacker 101 Discord for people that are in web hacking and bug bounty, Hacker 101 Discord is great. I have a Discord that is just primarily focused on like web CTFs, bug bounty, and just community building. I know there is the Bug Bounty podcast. That's really cool. John Hammond has a Discord that's great. You just have to find the group that you think you belong, and then go into those moderated communities that are not just open to everybody out there.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Just for an example, like it happened a few times on a few different Discords, like even when I took and both of them when I did certifications, right? When I did a Hack the Box cert, and then when I did the TCM cert, just I had like a basic question. For example, the first, this is out there now, like the CPTS, the first one, I failed because my report sucked. So once I failed, they just said, hey, like all you have to do is go back in, redo your report, and but I just wanted to, obviously it was like on a Saturday, right? So I was like, all right, let me just go to the Hack the Box Discord and ask, like, if has anyone else dealt with, like, have you ever failed and did you have to do the whole thing again, or did you just have to make some changes to your report and resubmit your report? Because like the feedback was not very, in my eyes, not very clear to the point. Like it made some sense, but I wanted to get clarity. And obviously on the support, on the Hack the Box platform, no one was there until Monday, and it was like Saturday night or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like people were like, like being a dick, straight up, son. Like they were just being fucking assholes. But if you were in the room with them, they want to do that. You know what I mean? That's the difference, and that's what it's so hard for me to like wrap my head around. It's like, that's why I just keep to myself.
It depends on the Discord, man. Every Discord has its own culture. It's like a company culture, Discord culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think those massive ones that you go to because it's like I'm the best hacker out there. Like you have these people that think they're that big egos. Yeah, you're gonna get those. But the smaller communities, I think, are a little bit different.
Cool. And I wanted to talk about like some because what time is it? Yeah. So like conferences and like you talked about like Discords, networking.
Yeah.
So what are some like from the little small, like maybe B-sides or maybe local meetups to like the big cons like DEF CON, etc. What has been like your favorite conferences, and like what are some that someone that's super new to the field of cyber or pen testing, etc., where should someone start so they're not overwhelmed?
Yeah, I think if your city has a local DEF CON group, that's a really good place to start. You get to see, depends on the city you're in. Example, like I know Dallas has a really good hacker culture, for example. Bay Area has a lot of people. It just depends on where you're at. The local DEF CON chapters are a really good place. And then the local B-sides are always amazing to go back to. I love a good B-side San Francisco. I know B-sides Nova is amazing. I've never been, but I've heard great things. It's on my bucket list. B-sides Portland is amazing, dude. I loved going to Portland. I think I spoke at Portland for like 5 years in a row. ShellCon, I don't know if it's still happening. They were an amazing conference out in LA. If you're in Canada, Hackfest Canada is a really good one. OWASP is really good. Those are all really good. It just comes down to what your goals are. But all those local chapters are really, really good to go to, because you get to network with people that are around your area that you can interact with. And also, if you're looking for a job, you have a lot of people that are in the field in your city. And then you have your massive ones like the OWASP, Cali, OWASP, DC, DEF CON, Black Hat, Hack in the Box. Those are all great conferences too. But it all depends on what your goals are and what you want to accomplish by going to these conferences. Yeah.
So and to tie on top of that, like how important do you think it is to network with folks? And I want to like add a little sugar on top on this, because everyone always says, for an example, I'm not going to name names, but like these folks come onto these streams, or if they're at a conference, let's network, and you just send them an emails or some kind of way that they say to reach out. Reach out if you have any questions, and you say, hey, so and so, it was good seeing your talk, for an example. I'm just making some shit up, and I hope you're doing well, blah blah blah, and you never fucking hear from them. You know what I mean? It's like, I understand some of these people like maybe get a million fucking messages or whatever, but it's like, how does someone maybe I don't like to use levels, but like maybe someone, I want to say me, I want to use me as an example. I don't know shit, and I just want to reach out to Ben. Hey Ben, what's up? How's it going? Like, do you feel as though like some of these, I don't want to call them influence, whatever the people are in the community, like for someone that doesn't know much, like how do you think, what is the best way to approach these kind of people?
I mean, it depends, man. Like, you can always introduce yourself and go say hi, right? That's what a lot of us that go to conferences want. But it also depends. Like, I get DMs that are just hey. I just get Discord messages, hey, and I have to respond. Now I'm just like, no, I can't, dude. It's like 20 hays, and then it's like ding dong. You just say hey, and it's like there's nothing, right? I love a good message that's like, hey, this is my background. This is what I'm doing. This is what my goal is. These are what the things that I've tried. Do you have any advice for me? I know exactly what to tell you, right?
Yeah.
You are, I try to respond to everybody that I can. And I don't consider myself one of the biggest, people in InfoSec, but there are people that are huge, they're massive. And they're probably getting like it's hundreds of messages a month, maybe if not more. You want to be able to give them exactly, if they're going to read your message, you need to give them exactly like actionable thing they can give you back. If you message me and say, hey, I want to do bug bounties, can you help me? Dude, there's so much content on how to do bug bounties. I've made YouTube channels that have YouTube videos, I have courses, or people have courses and things like that, right?
Yeah.
That's one of them. But also it's beyond just your quote unquote, your InfoSec veterans, the people that have done it, or your idols or your mentors, whatever you want to call them. There's beyond that. You go to a conference, you may run into somebody you meet at a CTF that you don't know who they are, and then you get a job interview and they're the person interviewing you. They might be your teammate. You know how many of interviews I had an interview at an undisclosed company that I don't want to name. I interviewed with him a couple of years ago, and I get on my second or third interview, and then there's this dude that I've hacked with many years. I didn't know it was him. Like I knew it was him, but I didn't connect the names. I see the name and I go, that sounds familiar. And I get on, I go, you're really interviewing me? He's like, no, we're just gonna hang out, but I was put on this. I'm just gonna ask some questions, and we're good. I'm not gonna ask you what XSS is, for example. I didn't know the answer to that, right? Yeah. You have that relationship. It's not that it's not the bias that you want, but it's like you rub shoulders with someone, you make a good first impression. When you see them on the interview, it's massive, dude. Yeah. My first job was exactly that way, man. Through a bug bounty report, running into them at a conference, and then me emailing that person saying, hey, are you hiring?
Yep. Yeah. And this is a good segue into this next thing. Like, what is the best way to get a job, right? Like, same thing. Like before I got into the world of cyber, like, I said this, I play hockey. So like I played hockey with some people, and some guys like, oh, I have an MSP. If you want to work for my company, this was about 16 years ago. Yeah. And this is when I didn't even know what an MSP was. I'm like, okay, like, and just by playing hockey with this guy, and just, telling me that a company was hiring, they need someone that knows ConnectWise, or they were using Autotask, migrating to ConnectWise, and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, we can do that. And we can do, all this Exchange migration, whatever back then. And it was really, really cool, because till this day, I don't think I ever really, I went through a few formal interviews, and that's why I think I'm really bad at them, because I never really had to like do that. Hey, tell me about yourself. Oh, fuck, I like to shoot guns. Like, what I mean? Like, let me shut up. But like, I like to, play hockey or whatever. If I don't fucking, what do you want to know about me? You know what I mean? I'm from New York. I fucking like to do things like this. But so it's just like interesting, like the whole, and especially for like the awkward kids, you know what I mean? Like for the people that really, really awkward. And that's what's like really interesting. I always ask myself, like some of these people like I've met over the years, just like doing like Hack the Box and CTFs, or just like shooting the shit. It's like, yo, me, and you talk like you fucking like a weirdo. You know what I mean? How do you talk to like real strangers? So it's just interesting getting over that hump with the interview process. So like, what is some advice that you would give? Like, how can you get over that hump or that fear of getting in front of someone talking about yourself when you're an awkward dude or girl, whatever?
Weirdly enough, man, Discord is a great place. You go on a voice chat, and then so many random people join, and you talk, and you learn how to talk to strangers eventually. But on the job end of it, I think there's a difference between like a job interview and like just knowing how to talk. For a job specifically, I mean, you have to know how to speak, and be able to like introduce yourself, or like talk about yourself, and talk about your skills. On there's 3 levels to, I think, a job. One is like the job application. My first advice is apply to every job that you think it's remotely like close to what you want to do. Obviously, like if you're a junior person, don't apply for a VP position of security. Like you can't get a CISO job, right? But like if you say pen test job that needs 4 years of required experience, who cares? Apply. Yeah. Do that, right? Apply to every job that's remotely close to what you want to do. Then you have your resume has to be good. My resume actually is online if people want to look it up. I think it's on my YouTube. There's a video I did that I disclosed my entire resume. If you go to my resume, you can see how I've highlighted my skills, like what skills to put on. It's a 1-pager. Everything is there. But it's beyond your resume. It's like showcasing things I was talking earlier, like showcasing your skills on your GitHub pages by making proof of concepts or blog posts or your achievements, your goals, and things like that you have done. And then thirdly is just being able to talk to people. And I think networking is a big part. The more and more you network and talk to people that are in these hiring positions or in these positions, you pick up on their lingo, you understand it more. And honestly, the more and more interviews you fail, the more and more you understand where you're lacking of what you want to do next. When I was coming out of college, before I took a detour with my career, I applied for, funny enough, 4 roles. And this was like in a span of like 2 summers. Two of those jobs that I applied for, both of them, I got beat by the same candidate year after year. I know exactly who it is. Shout out to him. He's a big hacker now. He's one of those like cool, not content creator, but he made some really cool tools that I've personally used. But I keep seeing this guy gets a freaking job, a month later. But every time I did those interviews, I think I got told no by like 8 or 9 different ones. I learned like, okay, they're asking me the same question. Like, how do you sanitize input when it comes down to X bug, right? And I was like, oh my god, how do you do that? So I went and got a book on like AppSec and how do you create secure web apps. You just learn the things that you need to learn for your next interview, and you take that off, and then you go to the next one. They asked me about some other thing, and I was like, oh my god, this is like something that I didn't know about. They asked me about how some like back-end code work. I was like, oh, I don't know how to explain that. So I went and learned it until like eventually I got tired of it. I was like, maybe AppSec isn't for me. But I got my first AppSec job experience, and then I was like, okay, I want to go do something different. So those are the 3 layers of your job interview or job application process.
Cool. That's definitely good advice. And yeah, every single thing. And this is why like it's awesome to hear this perspective from someone, totally fresh, totally someone that like our relationship is new. So it's like having this conversation is an honor. So I want to like talk about pen testing for a second. So you said, and you made a good point, like we don't all know it all. Like maybe you're going to be thrown in a situation that maybe like web app, AppSec, etc. So if someone, I think I know the answer that you're going to say, but I want to see your perspective. I want to be a pen tester, right? It's like saying you want to be a doctor or an attorney, etc. What do you want to study, or what do you want to practice, etc. How does someone figure out their specialty? Like, do you say, okay, Pat, go test a web app, go test Active Directory, go test a mobile app, go test, OSINT, go touch, your Tesla, go test, hack airplanes or whatever. Like, how does someone like find their specialization inside of pen testing? And is there any, and the second part of that question is like, is there any place that someone should start first? Like, okay, this is where you think this is a building block. That's the thing. Like, okay, start with this, and then you can start building, your foundation, and then build your house.
I would say there's 2 things. I'm going to go back to the CTF thing. Go play a couple of CTFs, see what interests you, like what you have, a lot of fun with. My fiance wants to kind of get into like learning some of the things that I do. I was doing the CTF and like she saw the OSINT stuff and she loves OSINT now.
Well, every woman does.
Yeah, but it was one of those things that's like, oh my god, how is this hacking? And I was like, well, I gotta look for assets sometimes about this company. I gotta find what are the people that work for this, right? But I'm still laughing at your comment. It's so good. But it showed that she's like, oh my god, I could do OSINT in cybersecurity. I can learn some of this stuff, and I've taught her how to do some stuff on GitHub to find credentials and things like that. But that's just how you get exposed to things that you like. But the second thing I think is even cooler is if you can spare some money and you can get maybe a sponsor or a scholarship, go to DEF CON. Because DEF CON has all these different villages that you can go to, and you get hands-on to learn and see these panels, see these talks. And there's some like advanced talk, but there's workshops. There's people you can ask questions from. You can talk to the staff even at these villages, right? I would do those things, man. I can't say go test a web app because web app hacking isn't for everybody.
Yeah,
I've tried the mobile hacking. I understand mobile hacking. I hate it. I don't like doing it as much. I used to think I hated hacking desktop apps. Now I'm like, oh my god, I love a good desktop app that I can pop into and see if I can find some bugs, right? But just you got to test these things. And I found this the recent with the executables, like with with Electron apps, especially, is through a pen test and through a CTF. Both of them, like, oh my god, this is really cool when you combine web app with some of these, desktop applications.
Mm-hmm.
You learn these things that you go, oh my god, I like to do. So you have to get exposed to things. Like, as a kid, did you know you liked hockey, or did you try hockey one day and you're like, oh my god, I love hockey? I'm sure you tried baseball, you tried football, you tried
Yeah.
soccer.
Yeah.
And you may have been like, baseball isn't for me, but hockey is for me.
Yep.
You don't know
exactly.
those things until you take the PE class, right?
Exactly. Oh, you nailed it. Exactly. Like, that's exactly how I got into the world of hockey. Like, some kid, because usually, if you're a hockey player, hockey's not for the poor kids. You know what I mean? Like, you can't go get, like, soccer. You go get a soccer ball, you can go kick around the pitch and blah blah blah. But hockey, you need gear, you need a net, you need to go. There's so much shit. If you're broke as a joke like I was, grew up on welfare, playing hockey was hard for me because you mentioned sponsor. Like, I had a friend buy me, his dad bought me gloves, and someone bought me a stick, and then this person bought me skates or whatever. Like, I ended up getting everything I needed to play hockey. But it's like, okay, then once I started playing in a league. Then I started getting better, and I liked it because it was an aggressive sport, and I took out a lot of anger playing hockey, to be honest. But it was like super, super cool, and I got really good at it. Yes, I played hardball, baseball. It was too soft. There was no action. Soccer was for pussies. You know what I mean? Like, everything, like, yeah, when I played soccer, like, you're a big dude, right? Like, imagine like you playing fucking hockey. You know what I mean? You fucking rant, you kill someone. You know what I mean? Like, if you're skating full speed and checking someone into the boards, it's like, I wouldn't want to be hit by Ben, right? So it's the same kind of thing. It's like, when you have those kind of experiences with whatever you want to do in life, like, if you get excited about it, you're going to be way better at it. So going back to what you're saying about mobile apps, like, fuck, I don't like it. So it's like, you're never going to put your full potential in it because you're not with it, So same, I always felt the same way with, like, web apps. It's like I love the infrastructure side. I love the Wi-Fi stuff. That's something that really, tickles my fancy. Yeah. So, like, when I get stuck on a web app, and then that's why I did, like, some certifications and started studying a little bit more so I can understand when someone's saying these, OWASP top 10 and this API hack. And, that's why I did some stuff with Hack the Box or API Sec University and, like, these things, so I can have conversations with yourself or some of these other folks when they're talking about these topics. A year ago, 2 years ago, I'll be fucking lost, dude. I'll be like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, So that's definitely good advice. Like, going back to the CTFs and try to see what's, your interest and all that good stuff. So that's definitely good advice. And that's what I would say too, is like, just pick up, whatever technology that you feel proficient with and start there. That's always my advice, just to, get that down pack and go from there.
Yeah. Passion plays a huge role, man. Whatever is driving you, whether it's the monetary, thing that drives you, or is it that you like, the puzzle aspect of, like, hacking, or you like that it's like websites because everyone has a website nowadays. Whatever it is that, passion plays a huge role, man. I used to think I'm lazy for a while when I was, like, procrastinating a lot of times. I just realized I didn't give a shit about some of these tasks, dude. Like, I thought, like, oh, I don't like working. Who likes to work 8-9 hours a day? I clocked out 11 hours of pen testing yesterday. Right? Because I was just, like, so zoned in. I had this fun target that I was hacking on that I just completely zoned in. I'm like, no, you're not lazy. You just don't like doing these other tasks. But you love these things and you get it done so much faster when you like doing it. It's the same thing when I have to do bug bounties. The monetary thing is a big part of it. I'm not going to lie. It's not like I don't just enjoy hacking websites. I love the reward that comes with bug bounties of saying, oh, first of all, I hacked this website. I'm getting paid of it, but I also like this part of hacking in comparison to these other things that are your AD or your, I don't know, whatever else it is I don't enjoy doing. But I like this one right here. That's like web hacking.
Exactly. Yeah. You pick your battles and definitely you only live once, man. So pick what you enjoy. So let's go. We have about 10 minutes. I want to be respectful of your time. And let's go through some of these. Devin's not here tonight to help me with these questions. So let's see. Let's see if there's any. What's up, everyone? Blah. All right. Don't forget to reply.
There's a question that I'm seeing, if you don't mind me just jumping in, because I've
Yeah,
been
go for it.
eyeballing it. Aaron's asking, this is fascinating, and I love what I'm hearing. When hunting for bugs, what does a bug look like visually, or does it vary on what you're looking for? It honestly depends. A lot of times it's just me looking at a website with the network tab open through the inspect element, like your Chrome. What is the term for that?
Like
There's a term. I don't know
browser
what it's called. No, but like under, you have your developer tools open at the bottom. You
developer
have your
tools. Yeah.
you can use the network tab. You can see the DOM and things like that. That's one of the biggest ones that I have open. And then depending on the vulnerability that I'm looking at, sometimes I'll use a proxy like Kaido. Whatever proxies. There's Zap, there's Burpseed, but I like to use Kaido. And I move over there so I can fuzz things. And then it just depends on the vuln. But a lot of times it's just me looking at. These are your technical vulns, right? You have your like SQL injection. Or SQL, however you want to call it, or you have your XSS, you have your RC of SSR, you have all these like technical ones on this side, and then you have these like logical bugs, like right here. That's like an objective of what you want to do. Like my objective in this bug is I want to leak everybody's PII. How is PII handled? Is it through an IDOR? Is it through like an API? Or is it like, can I find some logical vulnerability that I can access someone else's data and things like that? So that just depends on the vulnerability itself, but a lot of them are. You have to learn the basics of web app hacking, and then you build those blocks on top of them as you go.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. And hopefully, Aaron, that answers your question. Can you ask him how does balance between studying and working? All right, so I'm guessing that's for you, Ben. How do you balance between studying, working, and your actual life?
I love that when I search for balance, it actually highlights it for my browser. That's me. I never knew it did that. I was like, why is it doing that? So yeah, with the balance, it's really hard because I don't do like I'm learning things differently now, right? I've gotten to the point where I've learned the basics, and I also teach, right? So I have to know my things before I could teach people. So I've gone to a point where I'm very comfortable with most vulnerability types. I can explain to someone super non-technical what it is, right? But now my learning is like research. How does this thing work in depth? Why does it work this way, and why does it not work in this way? Can I do that? I think with hacking, it's a never-ending learning experience that you're going to have to learn new techniques and new research. So I'm looking at things as I go. You asked me earlier, Pat, about like, oh, you just RC'd a printer. I'd never done it, so I had to look into like, what can I do after I RC a printer? And there's like so many things that you can do online, from hack the box rooms to bug bounty reports and to people that have written reports on it. So it's like a I don't know, it's like a yin and yang. Like you're constantly, you're either doing one and you're doing the other, but they go hand in hand at all times.
It's a never ending cycle, that's for sure. Cool. That's yeah, I think return from Hack the Box is a pass back attack for a printer, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they just also released something on the cups lab thing that just went out. They just did one this week.
Nice. I'm about to check that out. So what's the level? Let's see. What's the level of automated and bug bounties? Is Python enough or Burp Suite to get started?
I think Burp Suite or Kaido community, the free version, is a good place to start. So you make some money, and it's like a business. You make some money, you reinvest it. I wouldn't do any automation. Because when you automate things, how are you going to exploit a vulnerable endpoint if you don't know these vulnerabilities? I wouldn't bother with automation. Go learn how to look for your traditional web vulns. Get really good at those before you do automation. I've actually gone through a no automation model completely, that I'm not really automating much.
Gotcha. That's good. And it's funny because you have these companies out there, with automated pen testing like Horizon 3 or Vanahai and all these other companies. I always wondered, how are they targeting like MSPs, MSSPs to resell their solution to maybe a company that can't afford a $40,000, $50,000 pen test? Yeah. They'll sell this $5,000 solution to get a pen test for a compliant check mark,
Yeah.
But I don't work for those people, so I don't know. But let's see. So, blah, put your hands on exactly. How is important to a group study? All right, let's get. How important is it to have a group or partner to study with and walk through the path with? I think it's super
Um,
important.
yeah, I agree. I like the I mean, I've had the experience on having somebody to do this with. I have a really good friend of mine, Brett Brewer House, aka Zayat. Uh, he was working somewhere in QA at some point, and I was just learning how to get into bug bounties, and we just threw stuff at each other. He learned some stuff from me, and I learned a lot more from him, I think, than he learned from me ever. I don't even know if he learned from me at all, to be honest. But we just shared a lot of stuff, man, and we became we hacked together a lot of hours, and we were. I think we're in late 20s, early mid 20s, maybe when we're doing this, because we were just trying to build something for ourselves. It was really cool because you have somebody that's either at your level or it's maybe a little bit higher, lower than you, but you're getting perspective on how they approach things and how they look at vulnerabilities and how they exploit them. And that person for me it was massive, and it goes back to my networking with Discords and CTFs. You find them like that. I did that through bug bounties, through DMing him and saying, "Hey, I saw you hacked in this program. Maybe we can share some information with each other," and we became long life friends now. We have known this guy for like 10, 11 years now.
That's sick. Yeah, it is super, super interesting. Like I made some friends just by doing the same thing, like reaching out to people that I idolized, or if I wanted, when I was in my early 20s, and like, okay, like I want to be like this guy. And all I did was reach out, and that person was super, super nice enough to, be in my life today. And this is 10, 12 years later.
Honestly, like the best way to put it is like the good thing about having a friend like that is you have someone to celebrate the highs and someone to push you when you have those lows. It's a great thing to have, honestly.
That's a good point. Yeah. And yeah, sometimes like I was out in Vegas for DEF CON, and I went to his house, and I was like, I had that. I had those doubts, and he's like, he's old enough to be his name's Keith Barker, right? He's old enough to be my fucking dad. But like, yeah, just like having that someone to like just talk to and just be not only like a mentor, just like a friend, and like just give you that advice, like, yo, like stop doubting yourself, just go for it. You're smarter than you think. And I always like, I don't know if it's like something I just grew up like, everyone's like retarded growing up, like, oh, this dude's retarded, like. And so I grew up like having that thing in my head, oh, I'm probably too stupid to do that, That's why I fucking play hockey and beat people up. But so let's thank you, Frank. Awesome. All right, let's see.
If you want to do one last question, okay, I was gonna say there's one more question after that we could do the last one because it's a good one to wrap it up with, I think.
Okay.
What's your favorite tools to automate as much as possible? I don't do a lot of automation anymore, but I use your Subfinder, your HTTPX. A lot of tools by Tom Nom Nom are great. I've been using Axiom recently, that just got released by Octavian and a couple other friends. I don't have a favorite tool, but I use your regular tools: HTTPX, Subfinder, your FFuff, Axiom as a framework I love, and I try to stay away from automation. It's a completely different topic for another time, I feel like, but it has its perks, but also I think it's saturated.
Cool. So you said, let's get one more because it's almost top of the hour.
What's your favorite bug to find? That's one of the favorite questions that I always get. A lot of times XSS is really fun because there's so much room for errors and like mistakes when it comes to fixing XSS, but also SSRF is an amazing one that I've really, really loved looking for. There's so much impact when it comes down to an SSRF, especially when you get into a company's, infrastructure.
Yeah. Awesome. So I guess the last thing, obviously you have a YouTube channel, you have a course. You want to throw your channel in the chat? So for those folks that I would love to get your shit out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on all platforms as NahamSec, the same thing that's under my name right here. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, whatever platform of your choice it is.
Cool.
X, whatever the replacement for it is. Yeah, you can find me on all those platforms.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I really appreciate it, Ben, hanging out tonight. Hopefully everyone got the value and got their answers, their questions answered. And if obviously, please go follow him. Go, I don't want to say go bother him with his DMs because I don't want to be the, but yeah, I learned, so, I learned a few things. I always like to speak with people like-minded in the community because, like you mentioned, like we always want to speak to someone and be in a room with someone smarter so we can leverage that and take it out, take some information out of it at the end of the day. So